This is a Fox 5 News special. Fox 5 investigates.
And welcome to this Fox 5 I-Team special. We begin with heartbreaking video from the Gwinnett County Jail.
It shows a 23-year-old man suffering for more than 30 minutes despite a doctor's order to get him to medical help immediately.
Our Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis was the first to obtain that video. Randy?
Yeah, Russ and Sinead, so far the only change announced is to make sure from now on deputies do what should have been done the night of February 15th. Get Chris Howard to medical as soon as the doctor says go. Get him there before it's too late.
I just know that my son was healthy, and there's absolutely no way he should have went into this jail and not made it out alive.
Robert Howard figured Chris had survived the danger zone of a disease that had already claimed the life of his first son when he was just 5. Chris grew up to be athletic, popular, tall and lanky with chiseled good looks, a man constantly on the move. The only legal mistakes of his 23 years would turn out to be a drunk driving arrest on New Year's Day and a positive marijuana test on February 15th that landed him in the Gwinnett County Jail, a place from which he'd never regained consciousness.
How often did Chris have to eat to make sure he didn't get sick?
Well, we never even, MCAD never even became an issue. We never even talked about it after the time that they were 13, 14 years old.
MCAD can leave someone with dangerously low blood sugar levels if they don't eat regularly. All of the Howard children have MCAD. Howard says his son did not have a chance to eat lunch the day he failed his drug test at the probation office, but he says Chris had missed meals before as an adult with no issues.
How much do you think MCAD had to do with his death?
I don't think it had anything at all to do with it.
He thinks the answer can be found on jail surveillance video. That's Chris sitting in jail admissions the afternoon he was brought in, chatting with others while eating a sandwich. Jailers knew about his condition. A few hours later, he's on the phone in a holding cell when suddenly he suffers a seizure and drops to the floor. Deputies and nurses quickly arrive, members of the jail's rapid response unit holding Howard down while he begins suffering a second seizure. As he starts to recover, the doctor on call orders Howard taken upstairs to the jail infirmary, quote, immediately. Nurses later told jail internal affairs investigators they made the same request.
I told them I don't want anything to happen to this man down here, so take him upstairs.
Deputies place Howard in a transport chair and cuff him. According to their reports, he was calm, smiling, and asked for some water. But instead of rushing him to medical, deputies decide to put him on the floor in cell 13 for observation, a direct conflict of the medical staff's instructions.
Unfortunately, we have so many seizures around here, and it's kind of like, I related it to the story of the boy that cried wolf.
Chris Howard would spend the next 30 minutes rolling around cell 13, crying for help, unable to sit up, clearly weak, repeatedly trying to knock on the door to get someone's attention. Occasionally, a deputy would peer through the window, then move on.
I saw him in the window of cell 13. He looked very pale, and to me, I remember thinking he looked like death.
But I figured this is something that the nurses knew about, and we'll just keep an eye on him.
So he was sort of forgotten about for at least 30 minutes.
It's one thing we've been looking for is answers. It's been killing us for 8 months. Just, it makes me mad. It makes me sad that he had to go that way.
Eventually, a nurse finds him and insists again he be taken to medical. But for a second time, there is little urgency.
They finally say, okay, yes, let's get him up to the infirmary. And they take 12 minutes to go change his clothes so they can put a jail uniform on him first.
Why? Why would you do that? Why would anybody do that?
Now officially dressed, deputies wheel him toward the medical unit called JJ. But Howard's legs keep falling off the chair.
And that moment we didn't run with him, but we kind of speeded up our pace getting to JJ. And that's when the nurse was like, he doesn't look well.
50 minutes after he was supposed to be taken to medical, Howard had gone into cardiac arrest. Members of the rapid response team would work frantically to try to bring him back, but by the time he was taken to Gwinnett Medical, doctors determined the damage to his brain was irreversible. He was officially declared dead the following day. At the time Chris Howard was having his seizures here, his blood sugar turned out to be a normal 93. Could he have died from some cause other than MCAD? Could the delay in getting him medical care have somehow contributed to his death? Well, the medical examiner who conducted the autopsy says the answer to both those questions is most likely no. Dr. Michelle Stauffenberg ruled Howard's death a result of a complication of a genetic disease, MCAD. She wrote, his death had already begun before he arrived at the jail because of the missed meal. As for the 50-minute delay in getting him to the infirmary, she told the Fox 5i team, I don't know one way or the other. I would tend to believe it would not have had an effect. The process was already in motion.
Considering his condition, are you certain that this 50-minute delay would have made a difference and he'd be alive today?
I think it would make a difference with anybody. Chris was 23, very healthy guy, and I just don't think MCAD had anything to do with this.
Deputies have also been told there's no hard rule to make sure a sick inmate is dressed in a jail uniform before taking him to medical. Our Fox 5i team investigation special continues after the break.
More than 500 disability access lawsuits have been filed against Georgia businesses during the past 5 years.
Yeah, it's a trend that has been slowly sweeping the country. Senior Fox 5i team reporter Dale Russell is here. And Dale, some small business owners and disability activists involved say that the lawsuits may be sending the wrong message.
Russ, that's what they told us. We've heard of the growth of these ADA access lawsuits across the country. Began to look here, found hundreds of them, and only a handful of disabled plaintiffs and their lawyers.
He's stronger than any of us. In a comic book world, the fight for justice seems never ending, like the Fantastic Four's battle to save the Earth from Dr. Doom.
He's not stronger than all of us.
But in his comic book store, Brad Owens sees no justice in the fight he's tangled up in.
To have someone that's basically extorting you, it reminds me of the days back when the mob would want protection money. It's kind of the same thing.
Owens is the owner of Rock Shop Music and Comics. His fight began when he got this letter from a lawyer saying a woman named Noelle Wright encountered architectural barriers at his store, and Rock Shop Comics was violating the Americans with Disabilities Act.
He emailed me the complaint because I was like totally shocked.
Let the shameful wall of exclusion finally come tumbling down.
The act was passed in 1990, designed to prohibit discrimination against people with disabilities and guarantee they have the same opportunities as anyone else, including access to businesses like Rock Shop. Owen says a letter came from the Attorneys for Disabled Americans group and contained a shopping list of complaints, focusing on his checkout counter, claiming someone in a wheelchair couldn't use it.
We have disabled customers that come in all the time. My brother was in a wheelchair all of his life, so I know what it's, with dealing with it.
He had no idea who Noelle Wright was. This is her on her Facebook page. Her Atlanta lawyer described her in an email as diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and as wheelchair dependent for periods of time.
We wanted to track down Noelle Wright, and it turned out to be a long drive. She lives some 200 miles from the comic book store at the Mall of Georgia, here in a suburb of Montgomery, Alabama. We didn't find her at her home, but we did find her lawyer, who turned out to be her mother. Can we talk to Noelle?
No, you cannot talk to our clients. There's ongoing cases.
She's your daughter?
Yes, she is.
Owens agreed to make changes, lowered the counter, cleared the shelf space. He already had a tablet, so anyone in a wheelchair could pay their bill anywhere in the store. He sent an email with pictures showing the changes to the lawyer. Lawyer Alex Mitchell's response? The pictures don't include measurements. There appears to be merchandise on the desk, and he would like to extend a settlement offer of $5,500.
It hurts. Honestly, I don't have it to spend. I mean, if I were to pay that, I'd have to take out from my son's college fund.
Really?
Which I'm not going to do.
Alabama attorney Tracy Birdsong's law firm has filed 84 ADA lawsuits across the Southeast, including 8 in Georgia. But that pales in comparison to others we found. 532 ADA lawsuits have been filed in Georgia in the past 5 years, most of them by a handful of attorneys and plaintiffs. Many of those suits filed against small business owners like Jimmy Viranarong.
You remember Tom?
Oh, yeah.
He has cooked and served seafood on Cheshire Bridge for 32 years. Tommy Futch, seen in this Facebook page, sued after one visit to this iconic Atlanta restaurant for ADA violations, focusing on the bathrooms. One of 90 ADA lawsuits Futch has filed. There was no complaint, no warning, just a federal lawsuit.
The man who came in, is he a regular?
No.
Never seen him before?
I never seen him before.
Jimmy's lawyer argued the building was so old it was exempt from ADA laws, but then told Jimmy and his landlord it would be less expensive to fix the problems and just pay the lawyer.
When people maybe ride the bus or walk in.
He did, adding a ramp for anyone approaching the business on a wheelchair from the street, and he built that new bathroom.
Looks brand new.
Brand new. I'm happy in a way, really, because it makes us feel good that we not try to really not do anything the law requires to do.
Jimmy lost 3 tables to build a new wall for that bathroom. His cost $20,000 plus his attorney's fees and some $5,000 to pay the fees for the lawyer who sued him.
They're not here for purpose just to help the restaurant. They're just here to make some money.
What they're pointing out is accurate, but is that the best way to create change?
Mark Johnson is a disability advocate. He's had to navigate his way through life in a wheelchair for 42 years. He says it's sad we're still fighting over access 27 years after the ADA law was passed. He says some lawsuits often identify access problems, but he doesn't like the trend sweeping the country of lawyers flooding the court with lawsuits, mostly against small businesses who settle rather than fight.
What is their real motive? You know, all I can figure is it's money.
Money.
It's money.
Now, we tried to talk to several ADA attorneys and plaintiffs, but no one would talk to us on camera. Craig Ehrlich, the lawyer in that Red Snapper case, told us on the phone he considers some violations dangerous to the disabled, and he feels like he's doing a public service, and so does his clients.
Well, coming up, it was years in the making, but our Call for Action unit finally made it happen. It's a story of perseverance, the kind it takes to get a veteran his military history back. Stay with me after the break, a heartwarming story.
Right before Veterans Day weekend, we got to meet a vet, and to highlight the hard work of our Call for Action unit, they really wanted to make sure he got what he deserved.
Well, Fox 5 I-Team's reporter Dana Fowl joins us now. Dana, our Call for Action team put in a lot of time and effort on this particular case.
Oh my goodness, several years. They certainly did. And Johnny Ferguson, let's talk about him. He served during the Vietnam War, and even with dementia now, he remembers some things. He remembers arriving in Vietnam. He remembers he served in Korea. But the U.S. military didn't remember. And so for decades, this American veteran, well, he wasn't able to access his benefits. That is until Call for Action got involved in one of its longest cases.
He's a Speedy Gonzales sometimes.
73-year-old Johnny Ferguson's wife is a hand holder and a helper. But lately, that's not enough. They need his veterans' benefits. In the Army in '65, basic training Fort Knox, he remembered a lot of things about what he did, but they didn't. Birdie, his wife, says in 2010, after failing health, they decided to tap into this Vietnam-era vet's VA benefits.
You go to the VA in St. Louis and just, request this DD 214. So that's what we did. And they got back with us and said that they couldn't find anything on him.
The DD Form 214, it's a big deal. It represents a vet's complete and verified service record. Without it, well, you didn't serve, even when you did.
So this is what we do.
They found out that Johnny Ferguson's military personnel file was gone, along with as many as 18 million others. A devastating fire back in 1973, just a few years after he was honorably discharged, swept through the National Personal Records Center in St. Louis. They tried to piece together a history.
Did he purchase a house? Did he utilize any of his benefits? Well, no.
He had nothing but a photograph and uniform to prove that he once was a soldier. He had memories, but with dementia, they were fading. Years passed.
What really put fire under me was one day I was watching TV and Susan Call for Action came on.
Susan Bowie, the director of Fox 5 Atlanta's Call for Action unit, and her volunteer team. Well, they tackle problems our viewers are having trouble resolving. She remembers the phone call.
She inspired me. She had done so much background work.
Bertie handed the baton to Susan, who made a road trip with this photograph of an American veteran.
I had a picture of him in uniform, took it to St. Louis to the VA there, and we talked with them.
You took it there?
I took it to St. Louis when I was there for a conference.
Still, nothing. But they kept at it.
You've been working on this case for 3 years? 3 years.
She just kept me motivated and kept saying, it's there, we'll find it, we're gonna find something. And that kept me going.
With each passing year, they were armed with more information. Finally, this super duo took their puzzle pieces to Congressman David Scott.
I bet it wasn't 7 days that the DD-214, the honorable discharge, came in the mail.
This veteran, well, he now has his history back. Bertie may get to retire to be with her husband, and all three of them have a friendship going forward.
Oh, I love Susan. I love her. I'm telling you.
Congratulations to Mr. Ferguson for getting what he's owed, and to Call for Action for working tirelessly for an American veteran. But I got to tell you, the case, it's still not closed. Mr. Ferguson, they tell us, well, he didn't get his last military paycheck, so they're going to track that down for him, and we're going to keep you posted.
Coming up, an 86-year-old Army vet says the VA screwed up his teeth and then refused to fix the problem. So what's he supposed to do now? Call the Fox 5 I-Team. The heartwarming story is straight ahead.
Finally tonight, a Fox 5 I-Team story that is certain to make you smile.
Yeah, Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis explains how a VA hospital mistake was finally fixed through the kindness of strangers.
Instead of them helping me, they're killing me.
At 86 years old, William McGuffey still has his health. What he needs are a few more teeth.
So you don't have any other teeth on the bottom of your mouth except the ones in the front there?
That's all, yes, that's all.
Private First Class William McGuffey served 2 years in Germany in the 1950s, ultimately returning home and running his own woodworking business. But when a tooth began bleeding last year, a VA dentist pulled it and fitted McGuffey for dentures. The dentures did not fit.
I can't put that back in my mouth because it really cuts my gum up and starts to bleeding even worse.
Management here at the VA in Atlanta refused to comment about William's case. Even after we got the privacy waiver they insisted that they needed. So here's what William says happened. He brought his dentures back here to have them adjusted, only to be told his dental care was a big mistake. Since he's not 100% disabled, he didn't qualify for dental care. If he wanted his dentures fixed, he was on his own.
On his own at 86.
You shouldn't have started all if you said that you couldn't do it because I wasn't 100%. You shouldn't have done that. So you shouldn't have built this. You shouldn't have pulled the tooth out of my mouth. You shouldn't have done none of that. Because if you start a job, you have to finish it.
This isn't the first time Fox 5 viewers have met William McGuffey.
We're going to have a blessing of the dinner for tonight.
In 2011, Good Day Atlanta profiled McGuffey's plan to take his fellow aging veterans out for a night on the town.
It was a shock to them to know that I was going to pick up the tab and do this. It's not about material things. It's not about money. It's about seeing their faces happy.
The main course for his guests, a steak dinner. Steak is no longer a dinner option for McGuffey.
What did you have for supper last night?
But I had a bean soup last night.
And what do you have for lunch today?
Beef soup. I can't eat anything that I have to chew.
He says a private dentist offered him new dentures at a discounted price of $2,600. Still too much. He says he lost 50 pounds since Christmas just eating soup. So we asked William to meet us in Snellville.
I've got some good news for you.
What's that?
I've talked to the folks here at Aspen Dental in Snellville, and they're going to give you new dentures for free.
It's all you.
Open for me?
It's all Aspen. The parent company has provided free dental care to thousands of veterans, often through a special dental office on wheels. But the Mouthmobile isn't due back in Georgia until June. no worries.
When we heard Mr. McGuffey's story, it was a no-brainer. We were excited to help him and get his smile back.
I need to eat. I'm hungry.
Yes, sir. We're going to get you there.
They pulled the remainder of his teeth on top, fitted him with new dentures, and 1 month later, the joy of solid food was once again on the menu.
Willie, come over here. What do you want?
Barbecue plate.
Here you go. Sink your teeth into that.
What, this or this?
Either. All of the above. Is that better than soup?
Oh, this is much better than soup.
He'd like to see the VA one day provide free dental care to all veterans who can't afford it, but understands the price tag will be high. But if the old adage is right, an Army moves on its stomach, William McGuffey wants to make sure we don't forget the Army veteran and where it all begins.
You feel better, you feel younger, you feel everything when you can open your mouth and smile, you know, but when your teeth are shaggily and they're not working right and everything else, you don't want to smile. But now you want to smile. In fact, I want to show off my teeth. I think they're very good.
There you go. And the folks at Aspen Dental in Snellville love him. He drops in all the time to see how they're doing, and they check to see how he's doing. He is still smiling, by the way, and he says he's finally gaining weight again. He has moved from hamburgers to chicken to ham to ribs, and on Thursday, he'll sit down and have turkey. No soup on the Thanksgiving Day menu.